And joining us now, great to welcome on our Book Talk segment on Talk Across America, a man who has written another one of his great Getting Things Done books. This is called Getting Things Done for Teens, Take Control of Your Life in a Distracting World. Of course, the original Getting Things Done sold over 1 million copies, translated into a bunch of languages, and has done very well. We're joined today by David Allen. David, good to talk with you. How are you?
Glad to be here, Doug. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, congratulations again on the success of that book. Anytime you have a title like Getting Things Done, the people are going to gravitate toward it, so they have.
They have, yeah.
And I guess the challenge now, and particularly in this book, teenagers always faced with distractions. That's never changed, but I think we have a whole bunch of new ones today, don't we? That's made it more difficult to get them to pay attention.
But I think, Doug, there were sort of two drivers for this. One is that, I've spent the last 35 years trying to change a lot of us cranky adults with some of our basic habits that get in the way of having clear space in your head. And we said, God, we need to get this to kids because kids get this. And we had anecdotal evidence even early on that kids could actually catch this process and start to implement it themselves much more easily than adults could. So we said, well, God, that's the future of the world, is to try to get this to kids. And then, now we're dealing with kids, to your point, that are, faced with distractions and interruptions and a ubiquity of stuff in their face that we didn't have, at least I didn't have as a kid. And so, both as a tool for them, as a tool for, it was really written, this new book was really sort of crafted for caring adults, for parents, teachers, clergy, counselors, anybody dealing with teens that are starting to see them sort of running into a world that is, kind of very easily blowing them out from where they should be going and what they themselves want to be doing. So we thought, perfect timing now, and I've got two co-authors now who are even better at speaking the language of teens and kids than I am, and so we've crafted this together. So perfect storm all came together. We said it's time to write this book for teens, but I got to give you a secret, kind of a bit of a Trojan horse here. We've already had adults read this for their teens and go, oh my God, I need this, because we didn't step down the methodology at all. It's all the same thing you need to do, I need to do. We just sort of framed the examples and made it more visual and kind of more fun and more playful, for people of the younger generation to deal with this. But it's all the same issues. It's universal these days.
Yeah, Mike Williams and Mark Wallace are the other two co-authors with you that helped put this book together. And again, we don't want to belabor the point. Teenagers have always had distractions in their lives, but I think it's much larger world distractions now with the the cell phone and all that kind of stuff. That's added on top to what normal kids at that age deal with. So getting them to pay attention, get them off the phone, right?
Yeah. Well, Doug, I met a woman a couple of weeks ago who has an 11-year-old kid, and she looked at his phone. He has 500 WhatsApp messages on his phone.
Right.
So. I didn't have that to deal with, nor did you, probably. So,
how do you do that? I know you break it down into 5 steps in the book, but the first thing you just got to get them to pay attention initially. Then you can get them to do something. But that's hard.
Yeah. How do you get them to pay attention? Well, what do they want their attention on? So, what do they need to talk about? How their summer needs to go? How are they ready for school? What's turning them on? See, kids don't want to get out of overwhelm. They want to get out of jail. They just want to go toward the things that they need to do and want to do and that are up in front of them. And the way we framed this book even initially was, look, are you ready for graduation? Are you ready to build your own Halloween costume? Are you ready for whatever? And kids, go through a developmental process over years. They, first of all, couldn't feed themselves, and they did. Couldn't dress themselves, and they did. Couldn't manage their own homework, then they did. Couldn't manage their own college, deciding about college and applications, then they did. And at some point, once they walk out of home, mom no longer becomes a trusted system. But that's not a one overnight process. That actually was a developmental process over years, where kids need to learn, how do I manage the new things I need to control because I can't trust my world to control it now.
Yeah.
And so how do I do that? And so that was a lot of the impetus for this, and a lot of the focus of this is, what are those kind of, inputs of control that we need to put in, not in a hard-nosed, in concrete kind of way. But what are the kind of fun, cool things we need to do? So if you want to say, how do you get kids out of 500 WhatsApps? Get them focused on why they're doing the homework. Do they care? And why is that more important than dealing with those 500 WhatsApps? Yeah, so I don't have, if I had the silver bullet, if I had the magic pill for that, I'd make a lot more money than I'm making. Right. So how do you do that? And that's as individual as the kids are, as individual as the parents are, or whoever the caring adults are, about what that conversation is and what it needs to be. But the focus is pretty universal. Wait a minute. What is turning the kids on? Where do I want to make sure that they maintain their focus? It's one of the things we did in the book, which I think was brilliant, which I actually didn't do in my first book, If Anything's Done, was to sort of separate the amygdala from the frontal cortex in your brain. And so the book, as cartoons does this, but brilliantly, and I didn't do this, Mike and Mark did it, was come up with, Miggy and Cortland, the two characters. And Miggy is the one that's always looking at the present, will be distracted by anything. That's the amygdala part of your brain. It'll always be attracted by the latest and loudest bright bauble in front of you. Has no sense of past or future. That's not its game. Its game is survival. Its game is
right now.
Is procreation and eating and surviving and all those sort of basic things. And we all have that. And then there's the frontal cortex, which we label Cortland, that you actually have to train. It actually develops over time. As a matter of fact, most kids, especially boys, don't get this fully developed until they're 26 or 27. Girls get it a little sooner. But it's the frontal cortex that is the one that needs to take control and stop that other distraction thing. So wait a minute, I need to do homework. Wait a minute, I need to take time to figure out what my Halloween costume is going to be. Wait a minute, I actually need to fill out my own college applications and not wait till they're overdue. So that's that part of the brain that actually in the youth is very developmental and doesn't show up fully formed.
Some never get it at all.
This is a lot about understand. Yeah, if at all. I mean, you ask your kid, how come, what were you thinking? You go, I wasn't thinking, because they truly weren't. That part of the brain wasn't developed yet.
Yeah.
So,
you say the 5 steps are capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage. I just want to get that out because those are the 5 steps you talk about.
Yeah. They need to unpack their pack that they took to school on some consistent, if not daily, at least by the end of the week. Hey, come on, pull all that stuff out that your mom needed to sign this week, as opposed to waiting 3 weeks later and she goes, oh my God. So there's a capture process, which will make sure you get all the stuff you need to pay attention to in some way, get it out of your head into some sort of external place, and then have you and the other appropriate people decide, well, what's next on this? Does mom need to sign this? Do I need to just, throw this away? Do I need to file this somewhere that I can refer to it later? So that's the clarify process. And then organize. Hey, here's the stuff I need to talk to mom about. Here's the stuff I need to talk to my teacher about. Here's all the things I need to do before tomorrow morning that I need to put on a calendar or somehow in front of my face, that I don't forget it. That's the organized step. And step 4 is make sure you're looking at that. Where's the pile? What's the stuff I'm talking about? Hey, mom's here. What do I need to talk to mom about? And then step 5 is then make your choices out of all that. So it's a good trusted choice. So in a way, it's kind of a big duh. This is how you get your kitchen under control, or how you get your consciousness under control. It's how you get anything under control. Mm-hmm. And kids can have their own way of doing that and need to, if it's not just showing up automatically. And I don't think any kids are born doing this. So it can be trained, it can be learned. We've seen kids as young as 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, getting this and starting to build these habits. But again, they're not born doing it.
Yeah, and I think today, like you said, again, not to knock phones, nothing wrong with it, but which people aren't using it for phones, they're using it for for everything else. But yeah, the distraction is starting much earlier now, so you got to get them at least some kind of process earlier on nowadays. So I'm glad you wrote this book.
And some sort of focus on. Well, wait a minute. Why don't you structure your life so you can get your homework done, get the forms filled out, get your mom or dad to fill out, to sign whatever they need to sign, so that then you can enjoy the next hour of surfing on the web or doing WhatsApp, doing whatever you want to do. So there's nothing wrong with that stuff. It's kind of fun stuff to do. It's like nature. Like, hey, it's like playing in a park. It's just a virtual park, not a physical one.
Time and place for everything.
So there's nothing wrong with that per se, unless they're doing that because they're wanting to avoid all the other stuff they haven't decided about or organized.
Yeah. We're just about out of time. Again, the name of the book is Getting Things Done for Teens, Take Control of Your Life in a Distracting World. And we've been talking with David Allen about this latest edition of the Getting Things Done series. Again, give out your website, David. I'm sure there might be one or two that don't know, so get that out there for them.
Hey, go to GTD, which is our shorthand for Getting Things Done. Go to gtdforteens.com. And if this sort of rang your bell at all, if you want to spend 30 minutes listening to a really rich podcast that I did with my two co-authors last week, go to under podcast number 42 and listen to that 30-minute conversation, and that'll give you a much richer and deeper sense of why and when and how about this book.
Great. David, pleasure talking to you. Hopefully we can do it again. Thanks for joining us.
You too, Doug. Thanks for the invitation.